Cascade Speakeasy and Electric Toasters Toastmasters Club meeting. The only two Toastmasters clubs in the world working in tandem to bring you exciting guest speakers every week. Some may say that I'm taking undue liberty in making such a bold statement. However, I'm here to tell you that I will assume responsibility for defending the veracity of that statement. At this point in time, I would like all of you to mute yourselves. Focus on the flag and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Oh, you already are. Okay. Very excited tonight to introduce our Toastmaster. He needs no introduction. Please welcome Steve Schwinn.
Well, thank you so much. Happy to fill the role of Toastmaster tonight, and glad to see once again that we've got this phenomenal turnout. It's really great how our club comes to meet the charge. I don't think I got in quite in time to catch all of the changes. Are there any additional people who are assuming different roles?
Is Pat.
Sorry?
General evaluator is Pat, otherwise we're ready to go.
Okay. Then I will welcome you again and thank you all for being here, and ask Andy Hightower, our general evaluator, to step up and...
Oh. It's not Brandy, it's Pat.
Pat, I'm sorry. See how well I was listening there?
Yeah.
I like to be very attentive to those things. All right, Pat.
All right, thank you very much. My job will be to look at the large picture of our entire meeting, how it flows, if everyone meets their responsibilities, anything that's exceptional, anything that's not, but I'm sure there will be none of that nonsense at all. But now here's the evaluation team. Evaluator number 1 is Christina Stepper.
Thank you, Pat.
And she'll be evaluating Joyce's speech.
Yay, I get to speak.
Yay. Tonight, Joyce is going to be doing her icebreaker speech. This will be her first speech other than table topics with us. That's very exciting. I have her introduction, so I will give her introduction since Steve does not have it and I do. When the time comes to introduce her, I'll give her introduction. Her speech is 4 to 6 minutes, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. 4 to 6 minutes. I will share my thoughts with Joyce and the rest of the group when called upon to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. The evaluator number 2 is Jim Briggs, and Jim will be evaluating Mary Sari's speech. Jim?
Hi, everybody. I'm sort of crashing your party here, but we can get new ideas. We've been doing the same kind of meeting. Yes, Mary is doing her speech is hold on. It's, yeah, connect with your audience. And what she's going to do is practice connecting with unfamiliar audiences. Now, in a Toastmasters club, there are no real unfamiliar audiences. They're all familiar. So what they do is have you do a speech that's unfamiliar to them. And so that's what she's going to do. And I won't tell you what it's going to be about, but I have a little bit of experience in the subject she's speaking on, and that's why she wants me to evaluate.
All right. Thank you very much, Jim, and welcome to our meeting.
Yeah,
it's nice to have a nice diverse group. Welcome. And now we have the timer, and Jackie is the timer. Can you tell us about your role?
Thank you. I will be keeping us on track with this little timer and with these beautiful cards that should be well seen because I have no virtual background. And unfortunately, we don't have unlimited amounts of time to listen to each other and learn, which is probably a good thing because it will keep us succinct. I believe that Joyce's speech is 4 to 6 minutes and Mary's is 5 to 7 minutes. I didn't hear validation of that. Mary, is yours 5 to 7 minutes? I guess I'll just assume it is.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Thank you. And for our evaluators, you will see the green card at 2 minutes, the yellow card at 2.5 minutes, and the red card at 3, if I'm correct on that. And then we will keep our table topics at 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, and 2 minutes. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now we will have our grammarian, who this evening is Ian Adams. Ian?
Thank you, Pat. Tonight I'll be the grammarian. This will be my first time holding the position as just a grammarian. Our Toastmasters Club combines the grammarian role with the counter role. So my task will be to pick up any inconsistencies in our grammar, unusual uses of our grammar, and my job tonight will be to convey the word of the day to you all as well, and I'll be listening for that. The word of the night tonight is zephyr. And zephyr is a noun, most commonly probably associated with the Lincoln automobile or large blimps that were in use early on at the turn of the last century. Merriam-Webster's also has a couple of definitions for the word zephyr. A breeze from the west, or a gentle breeze, would be a sub definition for that. And the second definition is any of various lightweight fabrics and articles of clothing. Good luck. Thank you, Patricia.
All right, thank you very much. I have to make a comment about zephyr. I don't know how it is at your houses, but my house faces due west, and there is something that is about a zephyr 1,000-fold, whipping the trees and whipping everything that's growing in my yard. It's a hurricane, it feels like. So more than a zephyr, but it's a beautiful word nonetheless. And last but not least, we have Armando, who is going to be our counter.
Thank you, Pat. So my role as the counter is looking for those filler words to fill that awkward silence that we so much like to use. So the ahs, the the buts, and the you knows.
Thank you very much. And now I will turn it back to our Toastmaster, Steve, who needs to unmute his.
Thank you. And I will now give it to Christina to do our first introduction.
Thank you, Steve. Tonight, Joyce Matheson is going to do her first ever icebreaker speech. As expected, she will be talking about none other than her cats, AKA her stay-at-home coworkers, and the role they play in her life. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Joyce, with her speech entitled The Crazy Cat Lady Chronicles Quarantine Edition. Joyce?
Thank you very much. Yes, I am not muted. After a while, you will wish I was muted, but until then, my name is Joyce Matheson, and I am a crazy cat lady. I am also a non-essential employee, so therefore I am home with my coworkers. I shall introduce you to my coworkers. Don't worry, I'm not going to pick one up at a time and introduce you because that would involve a lot of blood loss on my part. We don't need a snuff film, do we? No. First of all, we will be talking about Mr. Sampson. He is the only boy of the household. He is the baby king. If anyone is as whiny and needy as he is, I would say he lives in the White House right now. But I have to say my cat does not have a spray can, and he's cuter. When he was a kitten, he killed 15 mice. Never forgetting that he is now a retired man of leisure. He once escorted a mouse into my house and walked him from room to room until I finally got fed up and tried to take it away from him. That mouse now resides under my stove. Thank you, Samson. I know. Then we have the mother hen. I have two mothers now. I have the one who gave birth to me, and I have the one who thinks that she is my mother. Her name is Daisy May. And every morning I will wake up to the sound of shawa, 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 shawa. What is that noise? Her cleaning my ear. I have taken her out of the bedroom and shut the door, and what results in becoming the cat apocalypse with the paws under the door. We don't say brains, we say treats. She keeps me on my toes. She yells at me to go to bed. Wake up, get out of my seat. She rules the roost with King Samson. Then we have the little sister. Excuse me. The little sister would be Daisy May's younger sister, littermates. She is the mean girl. If there's going to be a fight in the house, walking away from the entire brouhaha would be her skinny majesty. She's the one who starts it, and then she walks away. She loves to stir the pot. She loves it so much. And let's see. She has her own pair of high heels. Not many cats do. I had a pair of heels that I had to wear for some event. So memorable, I forgot what it was. That's what happens when you invite a crazy cat lady. She doesn't remember. She fell in love with those heels and she chewed them up. And there was drool and hair, and I had to go and get another pair of heels, and she is loving on them now. Then we have Lola Marie. This cat, if she could buy a crucifix and point it at me at every chance she could get, she would. She thinks that I am the Antichrist. She is afraid of her own shadow. She is a gentle giant to the point where you think, what is wrong with you? She will come in like a little sheep with her little belly just going and just about taking her knees out. Like a zephyr, I suppose. She buffaloes me. I took her to a groomer one time to get her hair shortened. And she said to me, Joyce, that cat has your number. She's not afraid of you. She's bullying you. So she does that to everyone. And then we have the fighter. Muhammad Ali came back as a cat, and that cat's name is Annabelle Louise. She will not start a fight, but she will finish a fight. We have the two skinny girls in 3 chunks, 4 if you count the human. And it's usually a free-for-all, me trying to break up the cats and her with our mean girl. It's kind of a mix between Jackie Chan and Muhammad Ali. She's my pound cat. And she has never left the streets. She may be in my home, but she has never left the streets. She likes to scatter the cat food everywhere and make sure that everyone knows that this is modern art. Being the crazy cat woman that I am, I take all of this in stride for the fact that if it weren't for them, I would live alone. Besides, who's going to scoop the cat litter? Me. Thank you.
Thank you for that rousing introduction into you and your world. Very nice. Let's take a minute to work on a few thoughts about her speech, and then we'll move along.
I think I had more fun watching your guys' reactions. Oh, and Robin's 5 cats.
I knew it was a bunch.
Yeah. Someday I will have a real human at my house.
That is 1 minute.
Great. I'm sure everybody's gotten their thoughts shared. And now we have Mary, who is going to talk with us. Many of us, daily life has gotten much smaller during the stay-at-home, stay healthy order. If you're a non-essential person, you might be looking for a new activity to take up. Tonight's speaker, Mary Syrie, has a suggestion for you. Please welcome her and her speech, "It's Good for You."
As Toastmasters, we learn a lot about each other through speeches and through table topics. Over the years, I've heard from members from both of our clubs in Wenatchee about outdoor activities people engage in. Steve Schwinn, for instance, is known for his bicycling in the hills above Wenatchee. Most Friday nights, you could probably find Eric and Christina Stepper taking a walk from their house to downtown Wenatchee and back again. And our friends from Electric Toasters are no slouches either. Ron Slaybaugh has shared his strategy for kokanee fishing on Lake Chelan. Did you attend speech contests this year? Well, if so, you heard Ian Adams' unforgettable stories of old One Ear, the bear who sought refuge inside Ian's family home. My outdoor activity isn't as adventurous as some. I walk my dog every day on the Apple Capitol Loop Trail. In tandem with dog walking, I've also taken up bird watching, or as I was recently informed, birding. I am a birder, and I think you should be one too. Now is the perfect time to take up birding. It's spring. It's the prime season to witness the northern migration. Birds are looking their very best in their colorful breeding plumage. Males are singing their hearts out to attract a mate. They're all busy courting, building nests, and soon they'll be feeding their young. This season is special for another reason though. In the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, many activities are closed, but we can still go for a walk and we can still observe nature without crossing the 6-foot personal space barrier. Tonight, I will present to you the benefits of birding, and I hope to inspire you to engage in this activity. Birding benefits you 3 ways: physically, mentally, and socially. Birding is good for you physically. Birding gets you out in nature, out on the trail, and gets you walking. Now, I know that telling this group that walking is good for you is like preaching to the choir, but still these days, I think it's worthwhile to remind us why we walk. It burns calories, strengthens our muscles, lubricates joints, improves circulation, and interestingly, there's compelling evidence that walking boosts our immune system, which could be critical in today's environment and the new normal. Birding is good for you mentally. It's such a great feeling of satisfaction when you see a new bird and you imprint a picture of that bird mentally, and then you identify the bird. And you learn more than just the name of the bird. You learn its habitat, its nesting and courting behavior, migration patterns, diet. When you learn, you exercise your brain. And exercising your brain is just as important as exercising your muscles. Using the neural networks in your brain keeps your brain stimulated. If you stop using your brain, those nerves atrophy, and once they're gone, you can never recover them. The older we get, the more important it is to be a lifelong learner. There's another aspect of why it's good for you mentally. While you're birding, your mind is focused. You're consumed with looking and listening and observing. You learn to appreciate the value of patience too. Sit down in the shade along the trail. Enjoy the zephyr wind that's going by you, or find a boulder above the river. Be still. And as you are quiet, birds become bold. They'll start chirping and singing. You'll see them flitting from branches to branches and between trees. And as you're observing bird behavior, you will enter a meditative zone. According to the Mayo Clinic, when you meditate, you clear away the information that's cluttering your brain and contributes to stress. And don't we have a lot of it in these COVID days? When you relax and clear your brain, you're happier, you're more creative, and you're more patient. The way I see it, birding activates your brain with learning, and it quiets your brain through meditation. Birding is good for you socially. If you get out on the trail, you create community with other birders. And birders love to talk about the birds they've seen. They're happy to help each other out with identification, and sometimes, mostly, they're willing to share tips for locating the interesting birds nearby. Oh, and birders themselves are easy to identify. They're the ones with the binoculars. And speaking of binoculars, birding is an activity with a low cost of entry. Got binoculars? You're ready to get going tomorrow. Now, what is a talk about birds without pictures? So I'm going to take a risk here and share my screen and show you pictures of the birds that I have seen along the East Wenatchee side of the Apple Capitol Loop Trail. Here we go to start. And while you're looking at these birds, I want to talk about my friend Jim Briggs. About a year and a half ago, I went down to the Ellensburg Club. Jim gave a presentation on his big year. Now, Jim's a birder himself, at a higher pay grade than what I am. And for those of you who like competitive sports, let me tell you what a big year is. In birding, a big year is a competition to see who can see the most birds, the most species in a calendar year. I was so inspired by Jim's presentation, with a half hour long, with all the birds he'd seen and the locations that he went to. I was hooked. I was ready to start birding. Now, I hope to see some of you out on the trail soon. And in the meantime, keep your eye in the sky, get your tail on the trail, and take up birding.
Nicely done, thank you. Let's take another minute here to share a few thoughts with Mary, and we'll move along. I was thinking about your comment of new normal. And I've been thinking, since we've gotten into this stay-at-home thing for the last month, which even I've done a pretty good job of following directions, I just wonder that once we get back into circulation with the short attention span that Americans seem to have, I wonder how long it'll last. The Spanish flu of 1918 wore off, so I'm guessing this will too. Will it be a month? Will it be a year before we go back to circulating, or will it be forever?
1 minute is finished.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And we are now going to move into the exciting part of our meeting with the ever entertaining Eric Stepper, who's going to be our table topics master.
Thank you.
Eric.
Table topics is the part of our meeting where we get to speak extemporaneously off the top of our head. Table topics master needs to survey the room and see who has speaking roles and who does not, because in every Toastmasters meeting, we want to be able to have some kind of a speaking role. And the table topics master job is to fill that as much as he can. Now you can make stuff up, you can answer a different question, but I encourage you to try and answer the questions and be comfortable in the silence as you think of how you want to answer this succinctly. The topic is liberty and responsibility. And when I started researching this, I got up into a lot of philosophical stuff and I couldn't get away from it. So tonight you are going to channel your inner philosopher. And philosophers are like a zephyr blowing on a zephyr. Okay? It's kind of ethereal and willy-nilly, and I love it. I love witty sayings and those kinds of things. So remember that the word of the day is zephyr, and try and work it in there. These are going to be thought-provoking questions. So they are going to cause you to try and be comfortable in your silence. I'm going to ask the first one to Lloyd so you can get an idea, and you can also come up with other subjects you want to answer rather than the question I ask you. Okay. Lloyd, what component is the most important to exist in a free society? Is it trust, independence, toleration, or peace, or some other thing?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. If I had to choose from among those choices, I would probably choose trust. And one of the reasons for that, I think we've seen over the past probably 10 or 12 years an erosion of trust in our society. There once was a time, this astonishes people, but there once was a time when the Democratic president would sit down with the Republican Speaker of the House every day and have drinks and tell jokes. And that's because they trusted one another. They were political enemies, there's no doubt about that. And they struggled hard to prevent each other from getting whatever positions they had passed, but they did trust each other. And once that evaporates, you see what we're seeing right now, and that is nothing can get done. Not only that, but even worse, whatever does get done is attributed to some kind of sinister conspiracy or bizarre plots. And the next thing you know, you have people seriously talking about, for example, on the last presidential election, the Secretary of State of the United States running a child molestation ring from the basement of a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C., and millions of people believe it. You know, it's just bizarre. So without the trust factor, I don't think it's possible for society to function at all. One wonders what's going to happen if this trend continues on for, say, another 10 or 15 years. You know, we've already seen it become almost intolerable. The conclusion I'll use is a bizarre statistic I saw the other day, and that is that 60% of everyone in America now says that they would disapprove if their son or daughter married somebody from the other political party. Now, that used to be the case with religions, but now there's religious tolerance all over. It's just that now everybody says, no, it's politics. People don't want to live in the same neighborhoods as their political opponents. So I would say that trust is the primary component, and it is sorely lacking, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Lloyd. I want you to react to this statement and espouse on it. Liberty is meaningless without responsibility. Liberty is meaningless without responsibility. Rob.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. That's a really good question. I have a mat outside my front door, and it says, "Home of the free because of the brave." We have a responsibility to take care of those who take care of us. And if it wasn't for our military, we wouldn't enjoy the liberty that we enjoy today. Too often we forget our military veterans, and we need to show them that it's because of them that we're able to live in the greatest country in the world and enjoy the freedoms that we do. My wife and I have a fourplex here in town, and we make it a point to rent them to homeless vets. We have 3 vets that are living there now and a young lady that didn't have any background history in order to get a place of her own. So she lives there. She gets along with the veterans. The veterans take care of the place. They're wonderful people. And we just don't show them enough respect for the things that they make possible for the rest of us to live our lives. Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Rob. Here's another statement that needs a reaction. Life has meaning with responsibility. The more responsibility you take on, the more meaning your life has. Life has meaning with responsibility. The more responsibility you take on, the more meaning your life has. Michelle.
Okay. Can you hear me right? Okay. Yeah, thank you for that question. Really, when you were talking about it, when you were explaining the question, I just was thinking about the past couple weeks in my job. I'm a nurse practitioner and I love what I do. I get so much meaning out of seeing patients and taking care of them and seeing them get better, or resolving conflicts or trying to figure out a problem. It really does give me a lot of meaning into my life. And the past month, of course, I'm in family practice. So with the shutdown, you know, we have hardly seen any patients. And actually Friday, and we're working from home, which is different. So I'm not getting that interaction with people. So it's just been me and my cat, Willow. And, you know, I've noticed that I start feeling a little lost when I don't feel like I have like meaning or purpose in my life. I feel very scattered, and it's a very uncomfortable feeling. It's easy to get really lazy and, you know, not do as much. In fact, Friday I stayed at home working from home and I saw 0 patients. And that, for somebody that's used to working and loving it, it can make you question your value in the world. So I will have to say that, you know, I agree with that. I mean, of course, I think it's important to balance it. You don't want to take on more responsibility than you're capable of doing, or that's doesn't match up to your abilities. So I guess that's it. I got the red card, so I think that's it. Thank you.
Good answer, Michelle. These are definitely different times, crazy times. Having responsibility gives you a sense of purpose. A little bit a different take on the question. Having responsibility gives you a sense of purpose. James Reynolds.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
I probably agree with that statement. Most of you probably don't know my background, but I've taken on more responsibility at work. I work for the DOT and I've moved up in the ranks just in the last year after I joined Toastmasters, which helped me, I think, with interviews. So I'm now a project engineer and I've gotten more responsibility in dealing with contractors and doing some of that stuff. So yeah, I guess I feel that responsibility it makes me feel better. I kind of agree with what the last person said, that if you don't take on some responsibility, a lot of times I feel lost in life. And just the last couple year or so, I feel rejuvenated a little bit in what I'm doing, and I'm taking on more responsibility in other areas of my life. This is a bit of trying times, being home all the time and not being able to see coworkers and whatnot, and getting stuck in a rut, kind of getting stressed out. A lot of stuff going on with work, with contractors, etc. And trying to do the right thing, both for the contractor and what they're trying to do, and for the general public. Definitely difficult, trying times. But yeah, I feel that the additional responsibility has really helped me in my life, and I hope to continue to grow and spread my wings in other areas, which I know I need to do, and push myself. Thank you.
Thank you, James. After Toastmasters is over, we can all stay online and just have kind of a group session if we want and just talk this stuff out. Without responsibility, liberty becomes lawlessness. Without responsibility, liberty becomes lawlessness. Need reaction on that statement, Leanne?
Why are you picking on me, Eric? Can you say that again?
Without responsibility, liberty becomes lawlessness.
I feel like right now we are being treated like a bunch of little kids that can't be responsible for ourselves in this quarantine or shelter at home restrictions, I should say. In that, as responsible adults, all of us know how to operate intelligently, pretty much. I believe that anyway. And I kind of feel that it's kind of ridiculous that I can't decide how to keep myself healthy and function out in the world, in the workplace, and whatever situation we are in without somebody telling me. Like, I always wash my hands when they're dirty. I don't touch my eyes or my mouth or nose without washing my hands. I think most people have enough intelligence to figure that out. Anyway, I feel like our responsibility for ourselves has been taken away, and along with our liberty. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Leanne. Everybody has now talked. Does anybody want to have a question voluntarily? Joyce, okay. Jackie, okay. Not all people are created equal. Some have more intelligence and or skills. Is it the haves' responsibility to prop up or support the have-nots? Not all people are created equal. Some have more intelligence and or skills. Is it the haves' responsibility to prop up or support the have-nots? Joyce.
I believe it's everyone's responsibility to lift each other up when the opportunity arises. Supporting someone is not the same as doing something for them. Those who have the skills are able to teach to make it so that those who do not know can learn. Teach a man to fish and you'll never see him on weekends. You give him a fish, he'll complain about how it's not fresh. I know it's not the norm. I know what the real one is, but this resonates with me. If you teach someone to do something, they will be so busy doing that they will not be a problem for you. And I find that if you learn the things that you need, then you will be so busy living your life that you will not be a pain in someone's backside unless you are encroaching on their territory. And if any of that babbling makes sense, God bless you. I'm done.
Good job. So what component do you think is the most important to exist in a free society? Is it trust, independence, toleration, peace, or something else, Jackie? Lloyd's question.
Lloyd's question. He answered it with such zephyr-like ease. I was thinking about that as he was answering, and he gave a very, very insightful answer. And I am not going to say Lloyd's answer, even though that was a great one. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Enneagram. Whoops, I forgot to start the timer on myself. But I am an Enneagram 9, and we are known as the peacemakers, which is why, if you can see my screen, I have a tattoo on my wrist that says peace. And one of the other things that I was thinking about, Eric, when you first introduced this topic, was a philosophy class I took in college with a professor named Glenn. And I remember him talking about J.S. Mill, and he was talking about his work on liberty. And the thought behind Mill's philosophy was that people should have as much freedom as they want up until the point where it causes harm to another person. And I still think that that is a very insightful philosophy. And I feel like peace figures into that, because if you are at peace with yourself, if you have found meaning in your life to the point where you are not anxious or feel the need to blame other people, or like Lloyd talked about that statistic of people not wanting to live in the same neighborhood or have their kids marry somebody from the opposite political affiliation. I feel like if you are at peace within yourself, you can be respectful to other people who have different opinions, and it doesn't threaten your own self-worth. Thank you, Table Topics Master.
Great job. When I came up with these questions, I thought they were exceedingly tough. You guys didn't dodge any of them. You handled them with aplomb. We even had 2 volunteers, and Steve even said he would be available. So you guys are gluttons for punishment. Jackie, your time was 2:14.
Thank you.
You guys did a great job. So I'll turn it back over to the Toastmaster.
Eric, great questions. Deep and soul-searching kind of questions. Thought it was great. Answers kind of surfaced fairly easily out of all of those. Now we will have an opportunity to get an overview of our meeting, and I'll call Pat back up to give us a general evaluation.
All right. Let's hear first of all the evaluation of by Christina of Randy's speech.
Thank you. Joyce, are you sure this was your first speech?
Yes.
Really?
Mhm.
You did such a great job. You were very relaxed and conversational. Great use of humor, vocal variety. You even incorporated sound effects, which were wonderful. Chwop, 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 and cat noises. I love it. Very well done. Your descriptions of your cats were excellent, each one with its own personality, its own characteristic traits. You gave a descriptor of a comparison of what each cat was like and how different they were. You only peeked at your notes a couple times, and you incorporated the word of the day into it. Very well done. You also incorporated hand gestures. I especially loved the face mask at the end when you talked about cleaning the litter boxes. One suggestion is consider at the beginning something like, tonight I'm going to introduce you to my 5 stay-at-home coworkers. Let your audience know how many we're going to be hearing about, because I think for me anyway, I was kind of sitting here doing a mental checklist and thinking, how many, where are we? And was that 4, was that 5? It would just help your audience relax into your talk a little bit more. If you were to back up just a little bit more from your computer screen, your gestures would be a little bit more effective. They were great though. You got your hands up there, you got gestures in. That's hard to do in this situation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. As again, like I said, can't believe it's your first one and can't wait to hear more. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you, Christina. Now, Jim, could you please give us your evaluation of Mary's speech?
Jim, you're on mute.
You need to unmute your microphone, hon.
I hit it twice. I'm sorry. Thought I was unmuting it. Okay, yeah, I've got my Othello Crane Festival hat on. Mary, thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed this meeting a lot, and I particularly enjoyed your speech. If the club ever gets a request to send somebody to a Kiwanis or a Rotary Club, have Mary go and give this speech. It's perfect. And it would do exactly what it's supposed to do. It's connect with your audience, an audience that you have no idea where they're coming from. This had something for everybody. I don't think anybody would have been turned away by this speech. She had a great introduction, both from the Toastmaster, which she obviously prepared, and secondly, by Mary herself. I mean, it let the audience know something good was coming. And maybe this was the best part of the speech. She used actual members of the club to talk about what their hobbies were as she was leading up to hers. I don't think at that point we knew what hers was. Bob Hope and many of the comedians do this. They'll go to a group and they'll get the names of somebody in the audience and say, okay, instead of telling a golf joke, they'll say, Ray Fry was on the golf course. That's exactly what Mary did. She used you people, and I think that was excellent. Mary is the poster child for gestures. And if the only thing for improvement I could say would be if she could have found a way to show us more of her body. I don't mean that in a bad way. Because because she is the best at gestures. Did you notice where she said the birds are singing their heart out? Did you catch that one? They were all like that. Now, I've just got a couple more. Every time I thought I had something for improvement, you foiled me. Oh, I don't see any visual aids. They came up right at the time she needed them, all three of them. The content, you have totally embraced birding. You're a fast learner. And I'm glad you brought up the bird watching business. I was a bird watcher for about 50 years, and I've only been a birder for 20. It's the same thing, but the birders are a little bit snobbish. If you say you're a bird watcher, they'll think you're from somebody from the Beverly Hillbillies or something. Your conclusion was one for the archives. I think that was amazing. Keep your eye on the sky, your tail on the trail, and take up birding. And she did gestures. I had to read it. From the form, did she engage the audience? Absolutely. Mary, turn your daily walks along the river into a big year. Do a speech at the end of the year about all the birds you saw. Excellent speech. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, let's hear from the timer. How did we do?
All right, just writing down this last one. Joyce's speech was right in there, 5 minutes and 26 seconds. And Mary's was just a little long, but completely delightful at 7 minutes, 38 seconds. Our evaluators, Christina was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And Jim, we're so glad to have you with us. Yours was 3 minutes and 39 seconds. For our table topics, Lloyd was at 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Rob was at 1 minute 20. Michelle was 2 minutes and 15 seconds. James, 1 minute 54. Leanne, 1 minute 48. Joyce, 1 minute 17. And I initially thought I was at 1:55, but Eric kept me on track and let me know I was at 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let us now hear from our grammarian, Ian.
Thank you, Pat. For the word of the day, Pat, you got us kicked off right out of the gate with the use of Zephyr. Joyce followed up quickly with the use of Zephyr. Mary, Eric, and Jackie all used the word of the day successfully as well. Grammarian things that I caught, Joyce, one of the main things I caught out of the two things actually that I caught, you were a little bit inconsistent in how you named your cats. Sometimes it was Mr. Sampson, sometimes it was Mr. King Sampson, sometimes it was King Sampson. So it was a little bit confusing there on what the name of this critter was. And then you had a sentence that was, and let's see, excellent sentence there. I like the construction of that one. Mary, I didn't catch anything. Eric, you had a statement, you had finished a sentence and you were kind of transitioning to a new statement, but you used the word okay. And it didn't really fit the end of the sentence or the beginning of the next sentence. Lloyd, I didn't catch anything. Rob, I didn't catch anything. Michelle, you had a couple of sentences that you started with and. And James, you were good. Leanne, you were good. Joyce, you had that misquote, but you recognized that misquote of teach a man to fish. I like that you used that in there, and I also like that you did recognize the fact that you had used it in the not commonly referred to method. Jackie, I didn't catch anything in your review. I'm sorry, in your table topics. Christina, I didn't catch anything. And Jim, the one thing I caught in your review, your fantastic review of Mary's speech, was that you started a sentence with I, and then you paused and went into, and I'm glad you brought this up, comma, but then you started with another I. So you had a repetition on both sides of that in-between sentence there. And that was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Last but not least, Armando, how did we do in the department?
Thank you. Thank you. So I will start with our speakers. Joyce, you had 2 long ands that I caught. And then Mary, I was so intent with your speech and I was not able to catch any of them. So great job on going with the 0 on that one. Michelle, you had 7 ums, 3 you knows, and 2 ands. James, you had 1 3 uhs, and 1 but. Jackie, you had 3 ands, 1 and 1 like. Leanne, I got 1 1 and, 1 like, and 1 so. If you didn't hear your name, then I didn't catch any. You snuck by, or you did an amazing job. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Armando. Now for the large view, I'd like to congratulate everybody. We've been doing this for a month now, and I believe that this is the best meeting that we have had in terms of the quality of the speeches. They both were imaginative, fine use of language, gesture, facial expressions. The evaluators were very attentive to the elements of the speech, each speech. I really have to say, I think that we've got to see if we can do better than this next time, because this was a total, complete, entertaining, enjoyable, and potentially threatening because of those questions that Eric threw out there. Oh my God, I thought, oh my God, how are people ever going to be able to answer these? These are so profound. And everyone was so erudite. I just am so proud of us all. Good job, everyone. And now I'll turn it back to our president.
Thank you, General Evaluator. I could not agree more. I thought it was wonderful. All the speeches were terrific. At this point in time, since we want to make sure that everybody's involved in the meeting tonight, I would like you to vote for your favorite speech and send it to Ron Slaybaugh. Ron, would you please tally the votes for us?
Yeah, I'll do. I have to figure out where that. Yeah,
While we're
figure out where
waiting
that.
for that, thanks,
Yeah.
Ron. And while we're waiting, I would like to check in with Lloyd. Do we have any educational items that we'd like to share with the group this evening?
No, I don't think so. I'll echo what Pat said, though. We have, what do we have here? 17 people in the meeting tonight, so that's a good thing, with people from 3 different clubs. Thank you for being here, Jim. We have a total of 5 electric toasters, because remember, Vicki and I are members of that club as well. So that's a good thing. So when you if you run into other people from either club, talk up a little bit the idea of doing this. It's certainly a different experience to do it on Zoom, but I don't think you could say it's inferior at all.
Thank you, Lloyd. Eric, do you want to say anything about dues while we have everyone's attention?
We are definitely going to be indefinite on getting together. So just, mail your dues into me. My address is 1523 3rd Street in Wenatchee, but Lloyd's sent it out several times in an email, so you can look back on those, or you can email me directly. But let's not try and think that we're going to get together anytime soon. Just mail those in, please.
Okay, great. Ron, do we have a winner?
We do. Almost unanimously, Mary. I wish I could have heard it, Mary.
Congratulations, Mary.
Actually, you will be able to hear it if you want. Vicki started a recording of the meeting, and so I'll put the link online tomorrow or the next day whenever she sends it to me. The bad news about it is that unlike the previous recordings we've had, which were separate files for each speech, It's one giant recording of the entire meeting. So you have to, fast forward through some of the stuff if you want to. But anyway, that'll be online in the next day or two.
Excellent. And I had full intention of attending or logging into Zoom for this meeting, but Lloyd, the dog, ate my homework. And okay, that's not exactly true. I went out to run an errand and I was involved in a little fender bender, and I tried to get back here for it, but evidently when a car hits your motorcycle from behind and pushes you into the truck in front of you, you land in a pile on the road, they won't let you leave. I'm okay. I'm fine, but they called 2 fire trucks and 2 ambulances and a policeman, and I was stuck there for quite some time, so I missed the meeting. Sorry about that. Mary, I can't hear you. I can see your lips moving. Yeah, it's one
No
of those
worries,
crazy
Ron.
things,
We had you
right?
covered. We had you covered.
I was being one of those morbid thrill seekers. I saw those 2 fire trucks go ripping by and I started following them, and I thought, I don't have time for this.
Yeah, I got a Toastmasters meeting, darn it.
Well, thank you all again for coming. Michelle, thanks for joining us again. Jim, thank you for joining our meeting. Please join us again.